Hello there and welcome to another mixed martial arts conversation for Sky Sports. Very pleased to say we can cross to AJ McKee and now ahead of his Bellator featherweight Grand Prix showdown with Pitbull this coming weekend. AJ, how are you feeling?
And another day in paradise, it's been a long time coming, just prepared for this moment and looking forward to it.
Yeah, how do you handle that emotional balance? Because as you say, you're undefeated. You've had your eyes on Pitbull for a long time. But when I speak to fighters, it's often they're not thinking about it so much ahead of it. In the upcoming days, they're actually just trying to relax and conserve that energy. Is that how you look at it?
Definitely. It's been 22 years in the making that we've kind of prepared for this moment. We've looked at Pitbull literally for 17 fights. He's been the man with the title. So it's just preparing for this moment. I've trained my entire life for this moment. Being undefeated is one thing, but when we all came into this tournament, for myself, I looked at everybody as 0-0. Just because obviously it being a tournament and for $1 million, everything that had been done in my career-wise was irrelevant at that point, and everyone got a fresh start. So being 0-0 and now being 3-0 with Patricio and I, it's time for the best man to come home 4-0, and that's what I'm looking forward to is staying undefeated and bringing home that world title to LA.
Oh, fantastic. And how big an advantage is that, the fact that you've seen him, he's been on that pedestal the whole time, you've been able to figure out your method of attack? How big an advantage is that compared to him, who's, I suppose, seen you come out of nowhere the past few years?
Man, I think it's a big advantage. Why? Because he's kind of ignored me and tried to downplay the fact that he's known I've been coming for him. He's known that I've been coming for him since day one. So, he's ignored me and ignored me and ignored me. And then he looked for Pat Curran to beat me. Oh, Pat's going to beat you. Okay, well, why don't you be like, I'm going to whoop you if you get through him? You know what I mean? He's just kind of diminished my skill set, I feel like. And at this point, the beginning of the tournament, he switched the brackets and put all the younger, anybody that was kind of a threat for him, he kind of put on the opposite side of the bracket, from Darian Carwell being a wrestler, Derek Campos being just a brute, just bully in a sense. He's a tough fighter. To any of the young up and comers, Adam Borix, like, he wanted no parts in any of us. But at the end of the day, I think he knew I was coming for his neck.
What do you sense when you're in those stare downs with him? You're looking in his eyes. He's been quite dismissive of you. Do you think that's a sign of insecurity or a sign of confidence? How do you read him?
I think it, like you said, the insecurity. I think it's a little bit of fear. And that's the scary part, because any man that's fighting off of fear is that's something to be scared of, So that's where it gets under my skin a little bit, because anybody that fears somebody, that's something when you're fighting off of fear, it's like putting a dog back in the corner. That's when the true dog comes out. So I think we're going to have a fun fight, but at the end of the day, I'm coming out victorious, and I'm bringing home the world titles to Los Angeles. Somebody's got to put LA on their back this year.
Yeah, is that a big motivation for you? Because it's been a tough year, I understand. We're speaking to you from London, but I understand Los Angeles, for a lot of people, has really been hit hard by COVID.
Man, definitely. Last year LeBron won the championship. So this year LA has nothing on the map. No, nobody's done anything. I feel like it's my shine and to go out there and really put LA on my back for once and represent for all the GOATs that come out of here, man. We Los Angeles is like the pinnacle of just all sports and entertainment. You know what I mean? We're always popping one year after another. So I feel like this is my year to just kind of go out there, show out, and take it all home.
It feels like it's getting a lot of attention across the MMA world as well. Do you feel the landscape's changing with matchups like this? Two fighters of yours and Patricio's caliber fighting outside of the UFC. Does it showcase the fact the world is changing and growing?
Definitely. It shows the growth that the sport's doing, not only Bellator, but Patricio and I, we can go into any other organization and we'll hold our own, if not come out on top victorious. I mean, I know I will myself speaking, but I can't speak for another man. But at the end of the day, I think he'll do pretty well, whether it's ONE FC, PFL, UFC. Like, I don't think there's many 145 pounders in the division, regardless, around the world that can kind of handle the intensity that I bring when I'm in that cage. Let alone, they got to deal with the stand up, they got to deal with the wrestling, they got to deal with the jiu-jitsu. So, yeah, man, like I said, I'm looking forward to it. After this fight, maybe we unify some belts. I'll put up a couple millies, you know what I mean? I'll put up my millie versus somebody, get Showtime on board. They'll put up a couple millies, get Bellator on board, put up a couple millies right there, man. Best man win, man.
Oh, like a crossover. What with the other organizations for the best featherweight?
Definitely best featherweight in the world. Man, I feel like Mousasi too, man. We could get him on that card. We can make it a family affair, ass whooping, and show that Bellator has some of the best fighters in the world, depending on what weight classes. You know what I mean? I just honestly feel like there's a couple guys within the organization that are supreme athletes, and their skill set should be appreciated. And I feel like, man, just because one company's got a label of branding, of molding to itself, that it doesn't show that they're superior. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I think people forget that the fighters make organizations and organizations don't make fighters. So, I love this Bellator home, and I look forward to doing big things with them with sponsors. I'm looking forward to just doing big things. I want to get a Snickers deal, an Undefeated deal, a Porsche deal, Cadillac. Like, there's just big ideas and things that I see myself being able to accomplish in the future.
Sounds good. And you can accomplish that in Bellator, because it's interesting with fans on social media. They'll always say to fighters, we had Brendan Loughnane from the PFL this week, and he was saying, people are saying to him, you need to get in the UFC after if you win the PFL competition. And he's saying, well, actually, I'm making good money at the moment. I'm kind of happy where I am. Is that the fans aren't quite realizing what the fighters are realizing, that they have options and there's money elsewhere?
Exactly. And I feel like that just comes from mixed martial arts being based off entertainment more so than a sport at the moment. But in the near future, I expect big changes from the sport. Like I've said, I'm going to be the Floyd Mayweather of MMA. Just stylistically, I'm going to be undefeated my entire career. I'm not going to lose. And the way I fight is entertaining. So it's like the best of both worlds. Looking to make that Floyd money too, man, be fun. And, I'm going to be the only next one in line to literally carry the torch of being undefeated in mixed martial arts. Literally, in the blink of an eye, something can go wrong. You know what I mean? So you have to be on guard 24/7. And it's hard to do in MMA. You got to cross your T's and your I's. And that's just the way I think of it, because I like to leave things bold.
Yeah. What's the inspiration that Floyd, the biggest inspiration that he brings you in terms of his career? Is it that undefeated record? Is it his showmanship, his business savvy? What's the main things you take from his story?
I would say being undefeated, his work ethic, and just, man, obviously 100 mil per fight. Like, this is the most gruesome thing, mixed martial arts, that you can get to, besides the back in the Roman days. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's why people are drawn to it so much. Obviously boxing is just a great combat sport, but man, it doesn't compare to mixed martial arts. And the $100 million check, man, I'm looking to get big checks. Why? Because me being a second generation fighter coming in at the pay I've came in at, I have a little brother, 3 years old, kids pulling arm bars, heel locks, like, little kid's gonna be an 18-year-old world champ, quoted. Like, my words, he'll be a world champ before he's 18. I don't want him having to fight like I have to fight, because bills have to get paid, because all right, we need the money, you know what I mean? Or we have to get through this fight. So me coming in at the pay that I came in at, I've kind of taken the long journey like Floyd, you know what I mean? I didn't do anything, we didn't take any favors. We just kind of stayed a course, and we've taken everything progressively to where we're at now. And I think in the near future, man, we're gonna see things just reach whole new levels of plateaus. And really be able to change the sport, if not for myself, then for the other fighters and people that are to come in the near future.
That's it. That's interesting. I mean, you feel like, are you the sort of vanguard? You're the head of a new move, a new generation of MMA fighters, because the difficult thing about MMA, it always seemed harder to stay undefeated because you had so many different weapons, so many different opponents, versus Floyd in boxing, which he's a master boxer, but you can only punch in boxing. There's not other things that you can bring to the table. But do you feel, because of your background, that you have that potential to go undefeated? Because, as you say, you can do all the various components of MMA. You are a prototype fighter. You're not someone that's from another combat sport that's tried to adapt to MMA.
Definitely. I feel like it's just the mindset, undefeated's a mindset. I always kind of just follow different goats in different sports, from Kobe to Muhammad Ali to LeBron, just Allen Iverson, just the certain mentality that certain people have. Muhammad Ali once said, he said, I don't start counting until I feel the pain. So once things hurt, that's when he begins to count. That's when the true work starts. Why? Because everything you've kind of molded yourself to do, you're going to do. You know what I mean? Those are your habits. That's exactly what you know how to do. But once you're tired, your true self begins to come out. And that's where the real work begins. That's why you see a lot of guys, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, all these guys, after practice, who's standing on the court shooting threes? Who's perfecting their shot? Who's putting in those extra hours? And that's what just sets just the normals aside compared to the greats. And those are the countless hours I've put in. 22 years I've continued day in and day out to put in work.
What do you think about Patricio saying that he's going to stop you in the second round with a guillotine choke? He's been very specific. Is that just a kind of a mind game? What do you make of that?
I think that's either a mind game trying to get me to not take him down, or once again, that's him nervous. Because when has Patricio ever said he's gonna submit somebody? Never, ever. I'm gonna knock you out. I'm gonna kill you. So it's like, I'm in your head, you know what I mean, or something. I don't know what's going on with the guy, but at the end of the day, I'm looking forward to getting in there. As soon as those doors close, we're gonna get the tango and then making it sweet like mango.
I love it. And how do you see it going? Because you say you've got this arsenal, you've got the different options. Do you have a plan? People know about his striking. Do you want to take it to the ground, or would you be prepared to strike with him?
I've kind of dreamt it already. So I know how it goes. I don't want to put it out there, but expect the finish.
Nice.
Expect the for sure. He'll be done in two. He said, I'm done in two. He's done in two.
And when you're in there, is there a difference in the cage when you come from your background, when you've got all the skills, that it's intuitive, you're not thinking? Whereas if someone is from a wrestling background and they're in the striking, maybe they're having to think more about it. And if a striker is taken down, there's a delay because they're having to engage their brain more.
Well, I like to kind of improvise. I can say what I'm going to do until I get in there. And then once I'm in there, I make little adjustments. You know what I mean? I'm a great adapter. So depending on how the fight's going, I'm going to make certain adjustments and adapt to his style, and I feel like that's what plays just such a big part, because if stand-up's not going well, then okay, I'm going to take him down. If stand-up's not going well, then I'm going to make it a dogfight. If dogfight's not going well, then it's kill or be killed at that point, and I'm going to go out on my shield.
Nice to have options. Would you? I know Floyd Mayweather's a lot older than you. I think he's 44 and you're 26. Would you take on Floyd in an exhibition match? What do you make of all the celebrity kind of one-off matches going on?
Definitely. I've spoke to Floyd personally previously, and I told him I wanted to fight him, and he was like, "Oh, I don't fight." I'm like, "Okay, well, he does exhibition matches. Like, I get what he's saying, but for me, it's not. It's a respect thing. He's fighting YouTubers and people that are coming into the sport and actually wanting to fight. So I just feel like, man, it's a different level of respect that I carry for him being the best in his sport and me being the best in my sport. And it's the respect level of being able to just share that moment with him. You know what I mean? Two of the greats of both of their sport, being able to share that moment. I'm not going in there trying to knock Floyd's head off his shoulders. You know what I mean? I'm going to go out there, have a respectful, nice sparring match, and just test my skills striking wise and see what it's like to actually be able to move around with a great like that. You know, it's being able to move around with Muhammad Ali. Like, man, that's awesome. That's something I would love to add to my resume one day, and I definitely look forward to doing.
Is that easy to engage the boxing mindset though, and not use your feet, not think about takedowns? Can you switch like that? Is it the different gloves? Just switch, have they set the switch in place?
Definitely. The thing is, my dad kind of does our training. We do certain days, we'll do just strictly boxing, you know what I mean? So he keeps us kind of on edge of being aware of what tools we have and what we're able to utilize.
Good. Well, that's great to hear. AJ, really appreciate your time, and especially as you prepare. I know you need to get your rest in as well ahead of this one. But any predictions you leave us with? I know you've had the dream. You can't be specific, but do you feel it goes? It's not going the distance, this one?
Definitely not. First round, he's gonna realize with the range how long I am and the power, and then he's gonna be like, "Oh, this is getting kind of spicy," and he's gonna get desperate. He's gonna start to look for any opportunity to come forward and just kind of create openings, and that's when he's going to get caught.
And have you spent the $1 million yet in your mind, or are you going to keep hold of it? What's the plan?
I've spent it a couple times already. I read a quote: "If you can't buy it 10 times, don't buy it." But man, that Porsche GT2 RS is looking quite scrumptious right now, man.
Yeah. Well, AJ, appreciate your time. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you for having me.